Hi, I'm Amber Meriwether. I'm currently the Global Category Lead at Astellas Pharma for drug discovery and preclinical research. This is a relatively new role for me. Prior to this, I led our R&D procurement team in Japan. I took on my new role in June as part of a global reorganization to a globalized procurement operating model. This is only one of the changes that me and my colleagues have experienced so far this year. Like you, our lives have been transformed by coronavirus, both at home and in the workplace. At the same time, we've been working to enact a series of global category strategies to transform our operations and improve our relationships with our suppliers. This has been an ambitious and valuable challenge that we've been rising to meet. I'd like to share with you a little bit about how we've been rising to meet this challenge and the opportunities that it's presented for us in our organization. This talk is on how to influence others during times of disruption and build trust to bring about change within your organization. It is going to focus on this case study of my experience over the last 6 months, globalizing our research procurement team and delivering transformational category strategies in 2020. I'm an employee of Astellas. What I share here are my opinions and thoughts and are not necessarily those of my employer. As a spoiler, the fundamentals of bringing about change and building relationships and establishing trust are the same. The tactics are different in our evolving environment. It's key to understand your organization's priorities and communication channels. It's essential to have a vision and a plan for how you're going to get there. You need to engage in trust building behaviors and have a strong communication plan and messaging to support it. And perhaps what's most unique in this portion of our lives is when things are unclear, to make sure that you just do the next right thing to help keep moving forward. It's key to understand your organization's priorities and the communication channels within it. What is the current state of your organization? What are its priorities? What are the external factors that impact what your company does? This will be key for your messaging and your engagement and helping build relationships with those around you. But you also need to understand the networks and communication channels that drive your organization. Brian Uzi has done a lot of work on these topics. While it's essential to know the formal structures, the informal drivers are also key. These formal channels of communication with organizations can be reporting lines, information sharing meetings such as internal postings or newsletters, or standing meetings. They can also be the established committees and approval bodies that your organization has. It's worth noting that some of these more formal channels have been reinforced as we've gone to a more remote model, because people are engaging in these standing meetings that they had, or they're talking to their managers a lot more. It can also be difficult to navigate some of these internal procedures and processes. However, the approval committee process and accessing them can be very helpful in building awareness and support for your activities and your cause. Before you go into a lot of these spaces, nemawashi is key. This is the Japanese concept of preparing the roots for transplant and helping make the soil ready to receive what your change you're about to bring. This can take the form of pre-meetings with committee members before you go in, so you understand and address their concerns. You understand who are the supporters of you, and you also understand what pockets of resistance might exist, and so you can help appropriately tailor your messages. This can rely on a lot of the informal communication channels, and this will be key for bringing about change within any organization. Informal channels include social networks and casual communication. Some of this might have been speaking at what was the water cooler or getting a cup of coffee in the past, or those who had desks that sat next to each other. They can also be alumni networks or more social groups. They can be communication within particular sites of your organization or particular regions or divisions. What's key, though, is to understand the brokers, energizers, and connectors in your organization. Who are those in your organization that can link you to groups that you might not know as well? These are your brokers. I found in my experience as an expat in Japan that a lot of the other expats have been really great for this purpose. They've been able to help connect me to other parts of the organization that I might not otherwise have had, and different sites within our groups. I've also been able to tap in for some of my initiatives at a site level to the connectors. These are often in the procurement space, people who work really broadly across a particular location. For instance, legal, your procurement operations people are literally within a division, the ones who enter their contract requests or purchasing requests in the system and engage with a wide range of stakeholders. You also want to know who are your energizers. Who are these people who are going to help inspire others to your cause? Who are they going to make contagious support and help make the change actually happen within your group and are as excited to see it happen as you are? You also need to know the pockets of resistance or challengers who may not necessarily support what you're doing and be able to appropriately respond and address considerations that they raise. We had a key approval that was required, and it became apparent as we started to speak with the person that they were very interested in what another one of our stakeholders had to say. They were in a completely different division, but they were very influential in helping bring about the change in that key approval by sharing their thoughts because of the informal relationship the two had. I think it's also really key when you look at this to look across the different levels of your organization. It's not just your top executives, your senior leaders, middle management, but it's also those people who are on the ground on a daily basis, carrying out work who can help bring about change through their enthusiasm and support, and also the communications they're able to share for you. It's worth noting that as a change to a lot of work from home practices, these informal communication channels have shifted. People don't have coffee together in the same way anymore, and casual conversation requires scheduling a formal meeting. So it's definitely transformed. You need to be mindful of what that looks like within your group that you're trying to bring about change in. When bringing about change, it's key to have a vision to unite people around and to orient them to where you're going so they can help support you in making it happen. For us, what we did in our research area is we built an overarching category framework that showed how the different parts of what we do interplay in a plan for the next 3 years. We shared this with people through one-on-one meetings at various levels and across divisions to ensure we were united and had something that met the needs of all of our stakeholders. This gave people something to point to as we started on our initiatives and helped them understand how it fit in the bigger picture of where we were going and why this mattered to bring about this particular piece of change and part of the overall change that we were striving for. It also helped us because this broader vision was already signed off on by a number of stakeholders, and so each step within it was just another communication around what we were doing to execute. It helped them show the future we were moving towards and how the actions of today would help bring about a more beneficial future for us all. As you go about bringing change within your organization, it's essential you engage in behavior that builds trust with your stakeholders and your collaborators. Essential to bringing about change is meeting people where they're at. We've all been through a lot this year. Our department was reorganized. Many people have lost loved ones. We have work from home in offices where there never has been before. People don't necessarily have childcare, and they've been through a rough political environment. Sometimes their head's at work and sometimes it's not, and it's key to know where they're at. It's also essential to understand the priorities as a business and what matters to them. Is it time? Is it speed? Is it quality? Are there particular pain points that they want to see addressed? You might be able to help support. Effective change only comes from meeting people where they are at and being sensitive to where they are, their priorities in the moment, and helping them along the journey. It's also key to engage in trust-building behaviors. This can be as simple as a traditional project update by email, particularly since informal communication channels might not be flowing. It may be worth thinking about how broad you should disseminate that and what level of information you're going to provide to various stakeholders. It can also be listening and acknowledging feedback, even explaining if you're not going to move forward with it. It's also about consistency. In a world of uncertainty, consistency goes a long way. It's important to follow through and also build credibility by acknowledging when you don't know. And key to many relationships is rapport building, finding ways to connect and just be a bit more of a human with each other. Some of this can be in the subtle details of your video frame that open up a conversation, or creating space for more casual topics in the midst of a very serious conversation. It can be the gifting of your time, but also really being respectful of others. That is to say that these fundamentals of trust building that we've all learned over the years in business are even more important now. Key to the success of any project is also having a communication plan and strong central messaging. For us, given everything we are trying to achieve, we spent a lot of time focusing and refining our message to make it simple and easy to understand. We wanted to not overwhelm people with the detail and complexity, and make it something that had a clear ask when we needed it to, and make the material easy for them to process and give us any answers we needed. Some of this was summarizing key contract provisions and pointing them to the relevant clause, or summarizing data and analysis and providing the supporting materials if they wanted a deeper dive. As you engage in your communication, it's key to make sure that you have a strong message and are engaging people across the different levels of the organization, and that you know where it gets stuck in your organization. Do people not communicate across regions, across divisions? Maybe some manager didn't report down or someone up. But it's important that you address these areas to make sure that what you're trying to communicate gets through. It's important to remember the medium is the message. What are we trying to convey, and what is the best mechanism to say it, given the options available to us? As we started to launch projects and needing to meaningfully connect with other people, we felt a lot of our traditional ways were no longer available to us. No flying everyone in for a global meeting, no team dinners, no launch events or posters and signs around the office. We had to rethink our approach. This is not something we've yet mastered, but it's something that we're constantly thinking about and looking to improve. One thing we found worked well was how we chose to handle a virtual workshop. We knew we wanted to connect with people, develop a common understanding, and align on a strategy moving forward. To achieve this, we met with stakeholders individually to baseline and gather data and help make sure when we met, we would most efficiently use people's time. We knew because of that, we wanted to focus our sessions on the discussion and made sure we specifically framed the workshop agenda to achieve the goals we had already set forth for the meetings. Perhaps what was most effective, though, was that we kept it to a series of sprint sessions rather than a globally scheduled marathon in order to keep people as fresh and engaged as possible and reflect and collect information back as needed before the next meeting. This event was key in establishing the baseline for our initiatives moving forward and the relationships and understanding of each other amongst our stakeholders, and was successful in helping position us for future success on our initiatives. As many of us have heard and sung over the last few months thanks to Frozen 2, when one can see no future, all we can do is the next right thing. This applies at home and at work. Much is still uncertain and is not fully clear. This is the time where we need to lean into our mission and values as organizations to guide us, and not just our corporate strategic plans. This is how we move forward, by doing the next right thing until it becomes clear. By doing the next right thing is how we come together and ensure that as we change, we do it for the better in a way that benefits us all. Thank you.